He got up to go in the house, and when he got to our bedroom door, my dad was at the door. Mind you, my baby's in there asleep. And the doctor had just told us that she saw something, and it could have came from constipation, like some strain with constipation, or it could have came from something else.
Welcome back to another episode of Clocked Out Conversations. I'm your host Fahim. Today we're going to be getting into some more TikTok content. Story time on how I found out my dad was essaying my 4-year-old daughter. Yeah, this is pretty ridiculous, but it does indeed happen. I don't want to waste your time. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Story time on how I found out my dad was molesting my 4-year-old daughter. I'm not doing these for attention, for clout, for none of that. If I can tell my story and help somebody else, that's what I'm gonna do. First thing I want to say is pay attention to your kids. Your girls, your boys, pay attention. It was the smallest thing that brought everything to light. Something that I could have absolutely overlooked, and I did not. Because I pay attention to my child. I look at everything. I pay attention to everything when it comes to her. I be paranoid, and it comes from my own childhood trauma. But anyways, so my dad lived about 2 hours from us. I had just finished school and I was about to start my extern. My husband worked during the day, and I needed somebody to watch my daughter while I did my extern because she wasn't in school at the time. So my husband drove 2 hours, picked my dad up, brought my dad back to our house. So I started my extern. Everything was going good. Mind y'all, I ain't never told nobody this, but I was already paranoid. Like, it was something. I was paranoid that whole week. It was like little small stuff that was being done that kind of had me uneasy. But, okay, so the first thing was one day my husband was about to drop me off at my extern. It was like 8 in the morning. My daughter was in our room because my dad was in her room. So my baby was in the bed asleep. My husband and I, we were leaving the house, and we were outside, I want to say maybe 30 to 45 seconds, because my husband, when we got in the car, he realized that he left something. And he got up to go in the house, and when he got to our bedroom door, my dad was at the door. Mind you, my baby is in there asleep. It's like 8 in the morning. Before we left out the house, we told him that she was sleeping. That was weird to me, but then again, you couldn't tell him nothing about his grandchild. He loved his grandchild. I was thinking, like maybe she was whining or something and he went to check on her, but my husband was like, she's asleep. Okay. So another time, it was like my second or third day of my extern. My baby was playing in there with him. And she came out and she was just standing in the living room. And I could see his shadow in the hallway, like with his hand, he was like beckoning her to come back to where he was, but he would never say it out loud, which was weird because if you just call her name, but it was like he was silently beckoning her, like he didn't want us to hear or see that he was calling her in the back where he was. Okay. After that, I don't know. I think it was, I wasn't even a week into my extern when we found this out. Like, okay, he was doing little weird stuff, just weird stuff. And mind y'all, like I said, I lived with my dad my whole life. He got a bunch of nieces, a bunch of granddaughters. Everybody loved him, man. Ain't nobody ever said nothing out the way about him. No rumors. He ain't never did nothing to nobody.
You know, they always say it's the people that you least expect. This is why I'm a strong advocate of not letting your children over anybody's house, no matter who it is, mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin, auntie, best friend, close family friend, doesn't matter who it is, alone. Never. And never really let them out of your sight because of shit like this, frankly.
Like, he was just a host of fun. Everybody loved him. Like, that's why I'm shocked and hurt, like, to this day. Like, it still bothers me every day. But anyway, so one day, my baby, she came in there, like, she was still, like, at night, she had, like, she was, at the time, still, like, with the bed. So, she had on a pull-up because it was nighttime and she was getting ready to go to bed. So, she lay out on the couch and she put her hand in her pull-up. So, red flag, flag on the play, I don't play that. Why your hands in your pull-up? But of course, I was like, babe, why you got your hand right there? Like, what's wrong? Where you get that from? Somebody did that to you?
No, I'm pausing it, but this is another thing. Children always imitate those around them. They always imitate those around them. They don't really know what they're doing. So when you see children conducting themselves in certain ways that's atypical for a child, that's where you really need to start paying attention.
Asking questions. She was like, yes. So, I already know. When you questioning a child, you do not say a name. Like, you don't say nobody's name because, that child can just go with whatever you're saying. So I'm just like, somebody did that to you? I didn't say no name. Mind you, the only men in our house is my husband and my dad. And it could have been a woman. I got a bunch of cousins, whatever. It could have been a woman. So my husband, my dad, and sometimes my brother come around. But yeah, at the time it was just us three in the house. So I'm like, somebody did that to you? And she's like, yeah. So I don't want to say a name. So I'm like, okay, baby, who did that? She was like, Pawpaw. That's what she called my dad. I'm like, Pawpaw, I'm trying to get some clarity. Pawpaw changed you? Pawpaw, what, wiped you? Took you a bath? I can't say exactly what it was that she did. She showed me what he did. And she also said something that he did. And my heart just dropped. Like, dropped. I was crying so bad. I told my husband and my dad got into an altercation. And yeah, I called my auntie. My auntie lived down the street from me, and I told her, and she was like, "Oh, I just don't believe he did that. I don't believe my."
Straight goofy. Straight goofy. You don't believe he did that. You see, if I were a father and I learned some stuff like that, boy, God, Allah, Buddha, whatever the hell you believe in, be with the male or female that tried it. Cause I'm not gonna need a God. The other person gonna need it. This is crazy.
This my auntie on my mama's side. She was like, "I don't believe he did that." Wait, I gotta do a part two. Part two on how I found out my dad was saying my 4-year-old. And I'm emotional because I done recorded this part two like twice and it keep deleting, and I'm wondering if that's a sign like to just stop and let it go. But no. Okay, like I said, I called my auntie. My auntie was a police at the time in the town that we lived in. So, and she stayed right down the street. So naturally, I'ma call my auntie. I called my auntie. She came over, And I don't know if it was because I had just broke down crying or because my husband and my dad was had just had a argument and was yelling. But when my auntie started asking my baby questions, she would not answer the questions. And my auntie literally told me right there in my face, like, okay, I don't believe this. And it's my auntie might see this. Auntie, no hard feelings, but yeah, that hurt me. Anyway,
How do you not believe children when they say they got SA? Especially little kids like that, like little like babies, where again they're just imitating anything in their surroundings. They tell you that this happens to them. 9 times out of 10, it did happen. If you ask them to showcase what was done to them and they are showing you themselves, what other evidence do you need? I do understand, okay, some children may lie and whatnot, but nah, bruh. Nah, bruh. Mm-mm. Not for a child. Not for a child this young, bruh. I was scrolling on her TikTok and I saw how young the child was. Not for a child this young, bruh. Nah, man.
so I'm getting emotional, y'all. Hold up. Okay, so my auntie said she didn't believe it and told me to take my baby to the hospital, which I was gonna do anyway. I ain't see anything, but I still wanted to take her to get checked up. So we took her to the hospital. When the doctor came in, she told us off jump, like, usually you don't find no type of physical evidence with cases like that. But my baby ended up telling the doctor the same thing that she told us. And they called, okay, we went to the hospital in Memphis because it's the closest hospital to the children's hospital in Memphis. It's the closest children's hospital near us, even though we stay in Mississippi. So they end up calling the police from Mississippi because that's where we lived to the hospital in Memphis. And the police that call, that's the station that my auntie work in. So they came, took our statements or whatever, and the doctor had just told us that she saw something, and it could have came from constipation, like some strain with constipation, or it could have came from something else. And they could have taken her somewhere else and did an invasive testing, but it wasn't recommended. So I told my auntie that, and like I said, the woman wasn't sure where it came from, and I didn't want to do the invasive testing, so of course that's not going in nobody's paperwork or whatever. So my auntie was getting access to the files or whatever. So she called, like, talking about she didn't see anything about what I had just said. Of course you don't see it. We don't even know if that's where it came from. That upset me so bad because you don't believe her, and now you looking at files talking about what you don't see. So anyways, they made it to where my auntie couldn't even access those files anymore because I was so upset. And n- nobody, hardly nobody. Well, at first everybody was like, "Oh, that's so sad," and he wrong for that. But a year later, everybody his best friend, y'all. Everybody his best friend. Everybody, oh, I talked to him and he missed y'all and this, that, the third. Y'all, my family, my mama people. Oh, you don't think she got that off YouTube? Was YouTube? Yeah.
The way how I would have been pissed. Listen, bro, I don't care. Somebody getting the pause put on. I don't really care. All that at the family function in front of everybody. grandpa getting whooped. It don't really matter. And he would really be in the graveyard, but you know, nobody trying to really go to prison because now you don't got now the baby girl don't got a father to grow up with. But bruh, it's crazy.
That is so hurtful. For people to doubt your child, that's hurtful. But I understand a little bit because of his character. Like I said, we all grew up together. My cousins, I got plenty of girl cousins. He got plenty of granddaughters, nieces. He never did this to none of us. None of us, y'all. He never made us feel uncomfortable. And
That's another thing. You don't really know. You don't really know. At the age that your baby girl is, she probably not gonna remember it happening to her anyway. So you don't really know if Paul did this to you and or anybody else. You really don't know. This is why it's always on the parents. Don't let your kids around. Don't let your kids out your sight, bro. Don't let your kids out your sight because now you're in a situation where you're gonna have to live with this for the rest of your life. You're gonna have to live with this for the rest of your life. It's crazy.
no type of way. My mom died when I was 14 years old. I lived with my dad my whole life. He got full custody of me. My dad never made me feel uncomfortable. He never did nothing to me. Never said nothing to me out the way. But the way my daughter said what she said, the way she demonstrated what he did to her, I would be a fool to deny my child. I would be a fool to just sweep that under the rug and be like, oh, she 4 years old. She don't know what she talking about. That came off YouTube. Y'all, these folks set up an interrogation for my baby 2 weeks after this incident happened. And I thought, yeah, it's 2 weeks later. My baby ain't gonna remember that. Y'all, when there's some truth to what your child is saying, one thing about it, when you lie or when you being untruthful, you gotta, it's hard to remember. But 2 weeks later, my 4-year-old went into the interrogation room with the police and CPS worker and the child therapist and repeated the same thing. She even told them stuff that she didn't even tell us because she was afraid to tell us. 45-minute long interrogation 2 weeks later. She did what needed to be done. That's the exact thing that the CPS worker said to me when they came out of their room. She was like, she did a good job. She said what needed to be said. They sent that tape over to a grand jury or something like that. Y'all, that was a year ago. I don't know what's going on. So I've been messed up. I can't lie. My dad was literally all I had. All I had. My best friend, literally. So the fact that he did this to us, and I gotta sit up here a whole year later, and my baby come to me and she say she miss her papa. My baby want to see him. She wants to go to his house. She want to know why he didn't just apologize. She said, Mama, why didn't we just let him apologize? Why didn't we do that in the first place? Why he couldn't apologize like a real friend do? I had to explain to her, it don't work like that, baby. What he did, that's not right. You can't just let somebody do that to you and forgive them. She don't understand. And I'm fighting with this every day because not only did this happen to my child, but I lost my best friend in the midst of that. Because if you know me, you know.
That's another thing, especially if the victimizer is somebody that you're close to, you know, especially like a father. A father? Yeah, that's an entire relationship loss, but to hell with it, bro. You a predator, bro.
That my daddy was literally my best friend. I'm talking about on the phone 4 and 5 times a day. Like, that's what kind of bond we had. And people want to know, like, why I be so angry at my family. Like, why wouldn't I be? I'm getting emotional. I gotta go.
Yeah, this is. I mean that's just outright unacceptable. Bottom line. I usually would call videos foolishness because that's usually what I'm watching, but this isn't foolishness. This is serious. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. This has been another episode of Clocked Out Conversations. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.